How do you get a beaker? What about acid? Why is everything so expensive? The tips in this video will help you with all that and more, but number 3 alone can cut your gear progression time in half. But first, let's tackle the biggest wall new players hit after surviving week 1. You want your ammo empire up and running, maybe some gasoline for your new mini bike, but there's a problem. You need a chemistry station. You hunt down the Forge Ahead magazines, read them all, and check the recipe. Oh, you need a beaker. How bad could that be? As many of us on the other side of this know, it's quite bad indeed sometimes, so I went through the game files and tested 200 of every relevant container to find the best options. Here's what you need. Any scientific or medical POI, including ones you'd probably never even think of, like the Am I Gone Funeral Home or the Mortician's House, these are gold mines for beakers. Now, do you see these 3 types of chemistry piles? Commit them to memory because they're important. Small ones gave 0 beakers per 200. That might just be incredibly bad luck though. The medium gave 3 and the large gave 4. Not stellar, but if you stack enough medical POIs, these will add up and be a decent source of beakers. A better option is poppin' pills crates. Of the 200 I opened, I got 11 beakers, which is more reliable, and they're also quite common in medical POIs. Tiered loot chests though are your best rate. Tier 3 gave me 14 beakers, Tier 4 gave me 24 beakers, and Tier 5 gave me 28 beakers, again per 200 of these opened. So here are the 2 POIs you should prioritize. First, the Poppin' Pills Factory at Tier 5. This has 1 Tier 5 chest, which is the best for getting beakers, and 9 Poppin' Pills crates. This building is probably your best beaker density in the game if you can handle a Tier 5 POI. If not, then the Tier 3 Pharmacy has a Tier 3 chest and 7 Poppin' Pills crates. A solid, easier alternative that is accessible earlier in the game. One important note though is that beakers aren't level locked, so you can find them on day 1. It's purely about location. Quest rewards can drop them too, so if you are using quests, make sure to use that to your advantage. Now the chemistry station also needs acid, and finding it has its own special brand of misery. Acid is a pain, and not just when you pour it on your delicate bits. The same containers from tip number 1 actually work here, and the rates are much better. Per 200 chemistry piles, I got 19 from small piles, 35 from medium piles, and 71 from large piles. Poppin' Pills crates and Enloots are also very good as well, but the real shortcut here is Wasteland Treasures Volume 3. This lets you wrench acid straight from cars and medical cabinets at pretty low rates, which will be on screen, green acid barrels for a 25% chance, and the quad green acid barrels, which gives a 50% chance of acid. Keep an eye out for the Chem Depot POI, which is packed with barrels. One run sometimes nets me 6 bottles of acid, but other chemical related industrial POIs will likely have these barrels in them as well, so keep an eye out for any kind of chemical themed industrial building. Now you can build the chemistry station, let's get into tip number 3, the one that actually cuts your grind in half. God, the learn by reading system is such a drag. 100 magazines for most skills, and that much RNG just to progress in the game? Well, there are 3 things you can stack to make this system almost tolerable. One is perks. Each rank of a perk will increase the spawn rate of its related book. Rank 5 in any perk makes its related book spawn 10 times more frequently in loot. Don't waste your points on skills for books you don't want. Put them into what you actually need, like Grease Monkey if you want to fast track vehicle production. The Nerd outfit at level 6 will give you a 50% chance to get extra skill points from every magazine you read, drastically reducing how many you need overall. As a side tip, invest in an armor perk first so you can find armor books faster and craft the level 6 outfit sooner and complete your other progressions sooner as well. Third part is Intellect Mastery, ranks 2 and 3. Rank 2 gives you a 25% chance to find a book, schematic or magazine in a huge range of common containers, including stuff like trash bags, which drastically increases the number of opportunities to get these magazines. And rank 3 gives a 50% chance to get extra skill points from skill magazines, which combines with the Nerd outfit to give you a 100% chance of double skill points from every magazine. So that's what I meant at the start, but being able to craft the gear doesn't mean your loot hunt is over. 7 Days to Die now has a system called Magnitude, where weapons and tools can roll up to about a 100% better number in a specific stat. Hold shift over any looted item to see the bonus. A great roll gets a star on its icon. To get the best gear, you need to collect several copies of the same weapon or tool with different bonuses, say one with bonus damage, one with bonus magazine size, and then combine them at a combining bench using the 2 slots. You get a new weapon with the combined best stats. The key rule here though is that the 2 items don't necessarily need to match quality levels. If you craft a level 6 stock M60 and find a level 1 that has a 100% damage boost, you can combine them and get the level 6 M60 with a 100% damage boost, because it's based on percentage and not raw damage values. This makes almost every looted weapon eventually useful. It's worth noting though that there's currently no way to craft above standard quality weapons, so for weapons and tools, looting is often more efficient than spending materials on something you'll just combine into something you loot anyway. Another place you can find magnitude boosted weapons is from the traders, but that does get expensive fast. Let's say you find a sniper rifle at Trader Bob's with a massive damage boost. You want it, but the problem is it's 30,000 dukes. But if you stack the right discounts, that same rifle costs 4,500 dukes. And here's everything that works together to let you do that. Sugar butts give a 10% discount and are found in food vending machines for 300 dukes. Awesome sauce is 10% but is found in drinks vending machines for 300 dukes as well. Cigars at level 1 when added to a helmet give 5% and can be crafted via the Urban Combat Volume 2 book, requiring testosterone extract, which you can harvest from bears or loot from chemistry piles. The cigar at level 6 however gives a 10% discount, but this is a rare loot item from end loot or desks. The Ranger or Enforcer helmet at level 6 will give 20% better prices when buying and selling at the trader. Magnum Enforcer Volume 4 gives a 5% discount while holding any 44 weapon, and Pumpkin Cheesecake gives 5% better prices when buying, which can all be combined with the better barter perk at max rank, which gives a 25% discount. All of that combined will give you an 85% discount. You might not be able to stack every one of these in every playthrough all the time, but now you know what's possible, and you can save a huge amount of time and money by keeping an eye on those items and using them when you want to buy expensive gear. But magnitude doesn't apply to everything. There are some things you will still just have to craft, and for that you'll need something very useful. So you've unlocked your max armor crafting, you've watched my armor guide, and now you have 15 pieces of armor you want to build to have your ultimate wardrobe of powerful items. Problem is, that's going to require 15 legendary parts. Well, here are the things you need to know. First, try and complete the Wasteland Treasures book set. This will roughly double the amount of legendary parts you find in loot permanently. Next, tier 4 and 5 loot crates, once again, are very reliable for these items if you can do them. However, the Savage Country Superstore has dozens of clothing containers, each with a chance to drop legendary parts. If you run it with the Wasteland Treasures bonus, you'll walk out with a lot of legendary parts, unless you get very unlucky, which does happen occasionally. You can use traders to reset the POI and farm it as many times as you need to get legendary parts. While you're there, you'll probably find something else worth picking up. These jackets and gloves in the Savage Country aren't armor, they're clothing, with their own separate slots. These protect against storms and temperature. There are 3 tiers: Tattered, which is the weakest and spawns the earliest, Patchwork, and then Thermacore. You can't craft clothing though, it's loot only. So the Savage Country Superstore is a really good bet to get loads of clothing. The higher your loot stage, i.e. the higher your level and the harder the biome you're in, the more high quality clothing you will find. Plus, bedroom dressers in POIs are also a good shout. Liner mods for armor also exist and give similar effects, but they do take up an armor slot, which may or may not be worth it for your specific playstyle. But what if a storm hits and you have no clothing and you're nowhere near any shelter? Keep wooden frames on you. It's a general good piece of advice in 7 Days to Die anyway, because you can nerd pull up onto buildings or whatever you need to do to get away, but there's another use for them. All you need for storm protection is a fully enclosed space. Even wooden frames count. Build a shack around yourself on the spot and your temperature will normalize and the storm protection will regenerate. Shelter for a couple of minutes, run for a couple of minutes, rebuild, repeat until you're through it or the storm ends. Now normally I do some kind of transition here, but I couldn't think of a fun one for this, so I'm just gonna say if this is the kind of content you enjoy, there are 2 more videos in this series I've uploaded over the last month, and there are 2 more coming, which are all gonna be part of my mega tips video coming at some point in August. If you want to stay up to date on those videos, it'd be a good idea to hit that subscribe button. We're making insanely fast progress on the 100k by the end of the year goal. If I'm lucky, we might even hit it in September, which is wild. What a bunch of overachievers you are. Anyway, the next tip is all about weapon mods. So you're wandering the waste and you find an iron breaker mod. You check your pickaxe and wrench and you already have one on both. So you throw it in the bike to sell to Trader Rect. Makes sense, right? Wrong. This will kill you. Not actually, but check your primary melee weapon first, because any mod on any weapon increases its damage by about 10%, regardless of what the mod does. A flashlight on your rifle still boosts its damage. There's no reason to leave slots empty while waiting for something better. In the late game, with 4 weapon slots, stacking all 4 slots with something is a serious DPS gain, even if the mods themselves aren't particularly useful. 2 things to watch out for though. The Fireman's Axe boosts block damage but reduces damage to enemies, so don't put this on any axes you might be using in combat for whatever reason. Suppressors also reduce maximum range and weapon damage, so max out the Urban Combat skill book first so that the damage penalty is removed. Otherwise, fill every slot with whatever you've got. Now let's talk about another way to get the most out of something you'll be using later in the game. The gyrocopter. Pro tip, if you think it's garbage, you probably don't know how to fly it. It's not a helicopter. It flies like a plane. Here's a quick crash course in how to fly it. First, drive forward, and once you have some speed, use spacebar to raise the nose. Then, once you're up, use C to level off, and A and D to steer. But that's just the basics. The actual tip here is a fuel exploit I hope is never patched, and I've been talking about this fuel exploit for about 5 years now, so hopefully it will stay that way. But once you're airborne, hold Shift, Space, and C simultaneously, or in more universal terms, raise the nose, lower the nose, and sprint at the same time, and you will lock the gyrocopter into a near zero fuel consumption state, allowing you to fly much cheaper and for longer. If you add Enforcer gloves and a fuel saver mod, then long distance travel practically costs you nothing. Just don't press E when you're in the air like a dumbass and you'll be fine. With fuel handled, what about ammo?
Hey, you're finally awake.
Oh, for Bullets are the actual currency of the apocalypse. Not coincidentally, dukes are made from brass, which you can smelt literally into bullet casings at a forge. But if you'd rather not spend an afternoon mining and smelting to make ammo, here's a better route. Trader infestation quests are lower tier POIs filled with harder zombies to bring the challenge up to a higher quest tier. The simpler layout, however, means that they still clear faster and burn through far less ammo than a genuine high tier POI. But they'll still award a full high tier quest reward plus an infestation cache packed with ammunition. Usually more than you spent clearing it depending on your specific playstyle. Tier 5 infestations are probably the sweet spot because they have tier 4 difficulty POIs with tier 5 quest rewards, plus you get the ammo cache. They push you towards tier 5 quest completion at the exact same rate of regular tier 5s, but you can do it much faster because regular tier 5s usually eat most of your day and also tend to burn a lot of ammo because there's just so many zombies in it. Once they're available and you're reasonably well armed, run a few tier 5 infestations and track whether you're coming out ahead on ammo. If you are, keep doing it, and you'll have more ammo than you know what to do with. But if you are going to mine for your ammo instead, you should at least know the right tool. Auger or steel pick, the raging 7 Days to Die debate, and it changes every 6 months because the devs are just like that. So We're going to be using the same setup for both tests. Maxed out Art of Mining, Miner 69er and Motherlode perks, Rockbusters, Coffee, the level 6 mining helmet and gloves, and standard level 6 tools for 5 minutes when mining resources. The steel pick gained 23,000 iron, and the auger gained 28,000 iron. Interesting, because the last time I ran this, the pick won. Not anymore. For non-metallic ores, nitrate, coal, and oil shale, the pick used to one-hit these and stay competitive. However, it can no longer one-shot these stone-based ores by default, so the auger takes that category as well. But since my last tests, we also now have the magnitude system, so now we can get 2 extremely boosted mining tools and test that as well. So with 105% block damage, which is the highest I was able to get it to, we can test it and see if the outcome is still the same. In this case, the pick can now one-shot even the metal ores, which is generally harder to do than the stone ores, but even still, the divide between them has furthered even more. The steel pick gained 42,000 iron, and the auger gained 62,000 iron. So the verdict here is that the auger now wins in almost every circumstance. Probably how it should be, given it's available later in the game. The pick relies on one-shotting ores to even stay remotely competitive, and that's no longer reliable at default block damage. But there are caveats. The auger does generate more heat, so you have to be prepared to deal with more screamers, and it needs fuel. If you can manage the risk and the cost, the efficiency gain is quite substantial though. And now you know for sure. But you know what else the pick and the auger are great for? Opening end loot. Which leads me to a point about lockpicking. 7 Days to Die's lockpicking has earned a reputation as one of the worst minigames ever put into a video game. And I say minigame very generously. It's just RNG and a timer. It's utterly unengaging. But the perk related to lockpicking can be extremely powerful, and this tip has nothing to do with opening locks. The lockpicking perk boosts Forge Ahead magazine spawn rates up to level 12 workstations. It's meant to get you to the lockpicks faster, but you can exploit it to fast track your entire workstation crafting progression. If you take 3 lengths of lockpicking, it's a general perk, so there's no build requirement, meaning it's accessible to every character every time you play, and then hold on to your Forge Ahead magazines without reading them. Once you've stockpiled enough to finish off the entire Forge Ahead tree, you can read them all at once, and you will have maintained a large boost toward Forge Aheads without having to go 10 points into intellect and then dump a further 5 points into advanced engineering, which also boosts 4 different magazine types, potentially diluting all your drop chances across the board anyway. Lockpicking bypasses all that for any build without having to go intellect or boost other books you might not like. The only downside is that you will get your mid-game workstations later because you have to wait until you've unlocked the Crucible, but overall you will reach the end progression faster. Pair it with the nerd outfit and you can still have workstations all maxed out by week 2 or 3 and catch up quickly without over-investing in a tree you might never even bother using for much fewer skill point investment in the first place. As a bonus, you also get more lockpicks from looting, which means it's more easy to access police car loot. When the next part of this series drops, it'll be up on screen. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.